Good afternoon, everyone. This is Anthony Wall Street Trader, 4:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in January 2nd, 2023. Happy New Year. It's been a year since we got together talking about the graph. Just a quick note, I've been kind of busy with more on, I've been a little more focused in on equities. I think equities, there are some certain opportunities there that seem really ripe. I think overall, cryptos will remain a long-term play. I don't see real opportunity over the next 3 to 6 months, but January seems like we might get a nice little pump, but then probably fall back into the middle of the year. But right now, anyway, just wanted to give everyone an update on where things are with the graph and talk a little bit about markets. But before we get into that, this is not financial advice. This is educational. Let's move forward. The Graph Network, here are the quarterly metrics. This was as of September. I'm sure they're going to have one coming out October, November, December. They should have come out with one. I haven't seen it. But nonetheless, this really kind of illustrates the growth of the graph. And for those that don't know what the graph does, they are an indexing platform on a decentralized network. The graph was actually founded by Facebook, and Facebook has used the graph to help get certain data sets out of their systems, much differently than traditional access to relational databases. These guys create the GraphQL is the traditional API that people use in big companies, but the graph is more of a decentralized version of that. Now, let's talk about financials. Financials looking like to have improved. If you look over the top here, this gives you the quarter by quarter play. Revenues in terms of GRT. Now, let's think about this for 1 second. If I was to back this into dollars, it wouldn't be as significant because back in Q3, 1 GRT was a lot higher in price, and right now it's about 10% of that. So these numbers don't really make sense in dollars. That you're not going to see the growth there, but you will see it in terms of the graph coin GRT. So starting out last year, we were at around 89,759, growing. A year later in Q3 22 up to 592K, which is good, which is good. Now, if you go further down here, this is where we talk about really around the availability of data sets or subgraphs, as they call them here. We actually moved from last year, we were at 205, literally more than doubling the level of data sets sitting in the graph to 496, which is pretty significant. You want usage, you want people to provide data into the system to be used by consumers, because without data in the system, there will be no consumers. So it's a pretty simple case of how these things operate. You need things to be there for people to use it. So that's what this really represents, is the growth in the information available through the graph at its simplest level, and you can see it has more than doubled. And down below, this kind of goes through how many people are involved in the process of supporting the platform. This is indexers, delegators, and curators, all part of the ecosystem that allows these subgraphs to be made available for access. Anyway, let's move forward into markets, because I think that's what people really care about when you come to my channel. This is the graph in terms of its equal value relative to two other components. The graph in dollars, because I use dollars, I'm in the US, so I'm going to obviously invest with my local currency, is equal to the inner strength, which is the graph relative to Bitcoin, or GRT BTC, multiplied by Bitcoin itself. Now, the reason why I call this the inner strength is because it's a comparison between the graph and another cryptocurrency that's a little bit more mainstream, which is Bitcoin. And the benchmark is Bitcoin, and that's why I reflect that over here. Now, mathematically, there's a bottom layer here that illustrates that. Now, I've put this here many moons ago when I was doing these videos on a daily basis. This is pretty much in every one of those prior videos as well. Now, let's go take a look over at the graph and see what's going down. Now, we're down to 6 cents. I mean, this is a far, far cry from the last time I did a video. I think last time we did a video was like January 10th, somewhere up here. We were at like 52 cents. Well, we've declined 90% since then. Now, a couple of reasons for that. I think everybody knows massive chaos, sell off in Bitcoin. Definitely. That's not the only thing to blame. The other thing to blame is, riskier assets, which are things like non Bitcoin currencies are considered riskier. So you're going to see a lot of people jumping ship. Regardless, tech sector, ARC, whether you're talking about Kathy Woods, I mean, everything's been decimated to almost about the same level. I've seen everything from 80% to 95% down. So it's not significant. It's not significant meaning one to the other. You're not going to see much of a difference in terms of how bad things have gotten. But overall, long-term things will come back. Now let's go take a look at the other things. So now that we see this, we've gotten two channels that have been forming both in an ugly downward pattern no matter what. We're in the lower lane here. Looking like a curl up, but we could go down to 4 cents, which is a good 33% down from where we are now at close to 6. However, we could also go up to 8. This is anyone's game here, and I wouldn't know anything because we've been at an all-time low on this crypto pair. There's no prior evidence to let me know how to see where this thing could go. So I only have two ways to figure this out because this is the graph USD, GRT USD. So I'll go back here and we'll take a look at two other things. The inner strength, GRT to BTC. Let's take a look at that and see if we can find anything. Well, this just sucks just like the other one does. I have really no prior history here. So if we would take a line and draw it down, looks pretty ugly relative to the other one. They look just as ugly. So the ugly twins are out. There's no real way for me to see. Maybe I see, maybe, and this is a stretch here. Maybe we see a support line here, but this is all I've got to go on. There's nothing back here to help me properly balance my line out. So anyway, this is the best I got here. So weak at best. So let's go take a look at something else. This is the right side. Will Bitcoin go up? Will Bitcoin go down? Because Bitcoin is a big influence on everything, you have to take a look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin right now is literally in a wedge, a downward wedge. It's been going on for quite a while now, and I'm going to zoom out. As you can see, this is the wedge. We really started getting into this wedge back in February of 21. It's almost 2 years now. Did a couple of nice patterns here, bouncing up and down. Nice day trading type of activity in this pair. And then we just saw nothing but ugliness starting from way up here in November and over the past year have been just coming straight down. Now, I think we do have a low. The low, I think, is around 12,000 and change. This is where I think we are at max pain on this Bitcoin pair. So hypothetically, it could go down another 30% from where we are. And that kind of coincides with where this thing could go if all things, if Bitcoin went down and the graph to Bitcoin pair stayed the same, this thing could go down just as easily. So anyway, this one's anyone's game here. I'm just giving you all an update that I'm not very heavy in the graph right now or any other cryptocurrency in the altcoin space, just given the high level of risk and uncertainty. So I do have positions in it. I just don't have as much as I used to, and I'm kind of wait and see until I start to see some kind of turnaround here. This is kind of a catching a falling knife potentially. But you might get lucky. You go in for a day trade here and there, fair enough. But sticking in it for too long might be considerable pain. As you can see here, this is the 1 month pattern. Does look like we are leveling off, but again, I've seen several times where we look like we level off too, only to plummet back down. The longer term pattern is in place, so this one here seems to be the one fully respected. But if you go to the short term ones, you want to go in for a day trade, that's your call. I think in general, anything's possible here. So this thing looks like it could be range bound between 6 and 5, at least in the near term. But anyway, happy New Year to everybody, and we'll be in touch. Take care.